I believe I have some explaining to do. So I saw Inside Out yesterday and I posted a reel in which I talked about how I wasn't feeling it.
I feel, even as a psychiatrist and someone that does CBT with patients, it's a CBT explanation dream. It explains thoughts, feelings, behaviors, how they intertwine. It talks about how a person both loses their self and gains their sense of self in adolescence. It shows about the value system. Great explanation. I was not enthused. I was not entertained. I was over there like, when this movie gonna end so I don't be late for my lunch date or dinner date. It wasn't for me. Great job, great research behind it, cute, but I ain't like it. Sorry.
So I wanted to do a longer video just to explain where I'm coming from, what happened. Let's start with a summary of Inside Out 2. In a nutshell, we see Riley. She's with her emotions again. We have the gang from before, fear, anger, disgust, sadness, and joy. It's another day. Everything's going okay. So things are going good. I mean, initially, right off, you notice that her values, like there's little islands that she has, those are different. Like Goofball Island is still intact, but like Family Island is like in the back burner behind Friends Island, which makes sense, right? And it kind of coincides with how old Riley is at the time, and Riley is turning 13. Woohoo! Over the course of the movie, she's in the soccer camp, she's interacting with her friends, and through that, we learn about new emotions. Understandably, everything doesn't have to be fun loving. Movies should be thoughtful. It is good to have movies to, not only entertain people, but also have a message. I just felt like it landed flat for me. I think most of the movie, I was just sitting there, literally just sitting there and just watching it. Even like I said, even the 40X couldn't help it. Like the most that they could get out of this 40X was piping in scents of deodorant and what I think might have been conditioner and shaking around a little bit when she was playing hockey. That's not a lot of entertainment in terms of like 40X and its capabilities. Like I just wasn't entertained. However, it's not a bad movie. And I remember like people say, well, will kids enjoy it? And I'm not sure, but everyone I talked to, like I did like a simple poll like in the bathroom afterwards, like, did you like it? What did you think? And I didn't show that I hated it. And all of them said that they were liking it so far and they enjoyed it. Or I believe that people still enjoyed it because there were still colors, there were still the same characters. Like if you liked Inside Out 1, you have that attachment to the characters. FYI, I didn't like Inside Out 1 either. You know, I was like, whatever with that part too, unfortunately. I did like that they had like little cute things, like they changed the animation for certain aspects, and that was like cool and cute. But I feel like if even though I am an intellectual, I'm a doctor, right? I have to stop saying I'm not an intellectual. But what I will say is that I don't want to over intellectualize everything. And there's some people that they go for that. They want to be like, oh yeah, and that meant that, and that meant this. And I felt like this is one of those movies that deserves a lot of commentary because it did that part so well. So well. So I'm not sure how familiar you are with CBT, and I talk about that in the reel, is that it illustrates how thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are connected so well. CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy, and it's a type of therapy where we zero in on what a person feels and what a person thinks in order to change their behaviors. And in turn, that also will change the thoughts and the feelings themselves. So in the movie, just to explain how this works, the feelings themselves, they represent feelings. They represent sadness, anger, disgust, joy. They represent the feelings, right? And in the movie, you can also see that each feeling, from those feelings, you get a thought, right? And it kind of is, it kind of goes both ways, right? Based on the feeling makes them act a certain way, and then a thought produces. But it could also go the other way where the thought makes the feeling, and then the feeling makes the action. So it's a triangle, like thoughts, feelings, behaviors, but there's like two-way arrows. So they're all interconnected. And in the movie, the feelings would be the feelings, the thoughts would be like those strings that go up, right? And the behaviors are what you see Riley, what Riley does, right, in the movie. I also liked how, in addition to the CBT model kind of being introduced and learning about thoughts, feelings, behaviors, and how they're connected, also seeing how the thoughts that we have, the things that we believe in ourselves, those shape our sense of self. All of the thoughts like that she developed as a result of her behaviors or her feelings, they made like this crystallized thing that became Riley's sense of self. And at one point, anxiety comes in and she's like, I'm going to destroy your sense of self and I'm going to throw it out. We don't need that. We need the new sense of self that essentially got developed by more thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, new ones. And she just wrecked the other, just was like, forget that. And I thought that was quite valid. Like I think sometimes when we feel or do things so much, it changes all of our thoughts, all of our sense of self, and it changes a lot about us. But I also like in the movie that it shows that that's not irreparable, right? It also talked about the movie also illustrated suppression and repression. These are like defense mechanisms. There's a lot of defense mechanisms, right? Things that we develop to help us survive. The best example in the movie would be the way anxiety works, right? Anxiety, the character, the things that anxiety does, she does those things to get Riley where she needs to be. It's not like anxiety is there just to just spoil Riley's day. To a certain extent, because of anxiety, Riley does certain things and she achieves certain levels that she might not have achieved otherwise. However, the movie also showed how if you let a certain emotion just go overboard, it will go overboard, it will define you. And this one thing that helped you survive is also holding you back. So I loved how it showed that. And I loved how she kind of lost herself as her sense of self when she thought about, when she ran her life purely on anxiety and thoughts from anxiety. And then let me go back to the suppression, repression part. So in the movie, you also see that Joy, she decided that she was going to take negative thoughts and just throw them to the back of the mind, which seemed if it was a good idea. And suppression is when you do that on your own. Like you're like, you know what? I have things to do. I got to move on. I'm going to put that, I'm not going to think about that right now. Repression is like autopilot, Joy's in there just throwing it back. We can't deal with that. You didn't even decide that this is something that you wanted to not handle. It's like, you don't even remember. You don't even know where. And what I thought was interesting about that was like, as much as you want to act as if things aren't there, if they're not processed, if they're not part of who you are and accepted as who you are, they're going to come out and it's going to come out like a storm of emotions, a storm of thoughts, a storm of feelings. It looked like a panic attack in the movie. That was when Riley essentially had a panic attack. Her anxiety just overtook her. Everything was starting to just like kind of collapse. And then all that stuff that she thought she could throw behind her in the back of her mind just came all at her at once because she was in an already vulnerable position. So all of that just flooded in. But it's a kind of catch-22, right? It's like saying her emotions flooding in like that kind of harmed her, but in the same vein, her emotions coming in like that also helped her. And in some therapies, that's what people do. You confront the trauma, you confront those negative thoughts, you confront those positive thoughts, put them all in the like soup or whatever they did so that the thoughts become part of you. Let it all become part of you because it is part of you. And it's not something that you could hide. Your past, your past thoughts, the way you used to be, the way you are is so interconnected. It's not about having some and having not. It's about the balance and just knowing that it all makes you. But what are you going to do with it? How are you going to balance those negative things with those positive things, with those great things, with those bad things? Another part of the movie was how it illustrated feelings. As you get older, go through puberty, not, you're more able to not only experience new emotions, because I feel like the base emotions are still always there. You're able to appreciate different emotions. So to an extent, I think the emotions were always there. And you kind of notice that when they keep having nostalgia come in and out. They're like, not yet nostalgia. Go back in your room, nostalgia. And she comes in and out. She's like, is it done yet? And you're like, no, 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 not yet. And she's probably gonna come out when when Riley's in her 30s or 40s and thinking about high school and all that stuff. But it's just to say that these emotions were always there. But it's not until you get to a certain level or even intellectually, developmentally able to call out different feelings. I mean, there's like hundreds of feelings. And the base of those feelings are actually fear, sadness, disgust, anger, joy. But from those, there's like a branch of other feelings. And you kind of see it in the movie who parallel fear and anxiety. Like they're friends. Like they can identify with each other. You hear them even talk about each other like, oh yeah, I can hang out with her. And embarrassment and sadness, they're kind of similar too. You get to see how like there's different ways to express that core emotion, which I think is amazing too, because a lot of people can't express how they feel. They don't have the vocabulary, or they do have the vocabulary, but don't even know, like, oh, wow, yeah, that's the word for it. I'm not just sad, I'm disappointed. I'm embarrassed. It's more down that trail, but you don't get more down that trail until like you have the emotional intelligence or even like the age. Like it takes a certain age group to say certain words logistically, or the way your brain works, you don't have that vocabulary yet. So, in a nutshell, I didn't like the movie. I think I said that at least 1,000 times. I didn't like the movie. I will not be watching the movie again. However, I feel like it wasn't a bad movie. It wasn't a bad movie. They had great elements of animation. They had great elements of thoughtfulness. Some people can relate to the movie. It didn't land, but it's relatable, it's beautiful, it's thoughtful, it has some nostalgia for people who like the first movie. But I want everyone out there, like me, who didn't like it to feel okay. We have feelings too. If you like this video, please let me know. I'm trying to develop my channel, trying to figure out what people like. I'm just enjoying putting out content. But if you like this type of video, let me know. Please put down what you thought about the video, good and bad. Let me know what you thought about what I had to say, even about the psychology or psychiatry components. I'm interested to hear what other people thought about that. And I want to hear what everyone has to say. Like, I'm really interested. Maybe I will watch it again if some people point out some things. It's good to watch something with a different lens. Leave a comment, like, and subscribe. Let's live and learn together. Bye.